22 days ago, I served the New Zealand government with a declaration of war. I gave them 60 days to fix everything. Now, under New Zealand law, if you write to a government department or anything to do with a government department or an MP, they must give you a written acknowledgement within 10 working days of receiving the letter to let them know and let you know that they received it. Well, you know they received it because I videoed it, put it in John Key's box, and put it all up on the internet. So that's the way the law works, which is within 10 working days they must give you a written answer or acknowledgement that they've done it. They then must give you a notification within 28 days that they're going to solve the problem. After 28 days, they then have to write a letter to explain to you why they're taking longer than 28 days, and they have to give their request for extra time. Well, we're at day 22. There's no acknowledgement, there's no response, there's nothing. But then again, look at the last 6 years when they're supposed to have done everything correctly and under policy, which is why I filed the declaration of war. Those who have seen the videos before all this will know what I'm talking about. Those who haven't, short version of it is I have spent more than 6 years trying to get them to put my benefit money back to the level it's supposed to be at, because I'm stuck with WINZ in the Ministry of Health. The reason I'm stuck with WINZ in the Ministry of Health is because the New Zealand government bought an outdated vaccine from Canada that Canada rejected, used it and gave me polio from it. I got polio because I got a double dose of the damn thing. And my immune system's compromised. Why? Because New Zealand saturated this land in 245T. Took years of digging through records and going through everything to try and find out who, what, where and when, to learn that most of my medical records are actually under a 70-year confidentiality agreement because of the polio vaccine that they used. They then turn around and treat me like shit because I can't get copies of my medical records because they've got the copies of the medical records under the confidentiality agreement, which they then ask me for and say that, oh yes, we know we've got this, we know we've got that, but until you give us copies of the records that we're hiding, we ain't going to do shit. And that's one of the problems I've been dealing with since the national government came in. Because I spent over 5 years fighting with the Labour government when I found out they'd done this to me after going through the Attorney General's office to get permission from the Attorney General and Auckland Hospital's lawyers to go through the Archive of New Zealand to get my own goddamn medical records to discover that they are under the 70-year confidentiality agreement. Now, it's been a long hill battle, it's been an uphill battle. I've had people tell me to give up, I've had people tell me to do all these other different things. All the work I've done, though, has helped everybody follows in my wake, but still not fully helping me because I'm finding all the loopholes, all the mistakes, and all the letdowns that this country has got. Our system is a complete failure. Our government is a complete failure. How the fuck John Keys got in with his National Party for a third time, nobody seems to really know because a lot of people who voted for .com. But .com's not in. National's in, and then others are turning around and go, oh, a lot of people didn't go and vote. Oh, yes, they fucking did. They voted for .com. So again, how the fuck did National get it? Again, it makes you wonder about how our system works. Which is why I filed the declaration of war. I have been through our system. Our system is a joke and it's pathetic. And as for the declaration of war, they still haven't acknowledged it. They haven't acknowledged anything. They keep telling me they're going to cut my benefit off. They keep telling me I have to do all these other different things, which I've already done and they have no right to do. Now, here's the kicker. The reason I'm stuck on an envelope benefit is because back in 2002, I actually filed against the Crown to pay me the money they owed me, what they owed me in back pay for 30-something years, for all the doctor's fees I had to pay, all the costs of having to go through everybody and everything else, which at that time period was about 4.9 million. Since then, they wrote the letter that clearly stated from the Prime Minister's office that WINZ in the Ministry of Health is supposed to cover my costs, because the Crown did this to me and not covered by ACC. This is how they got out of paying me a lump sum of back paying me the money they owed me, plus the cost of my future care, which at that time period I originally stood at 40 mil. When they had me rewrite it, I made it 50 mil because I added in interest and all the other costs. And they got out of having to pay the $50 million by going, yeah, no, WINZ in the Ministry of Health will cover the costs. They'll take care of you. You won't have to put up with this shit again. You won't be starved. You won't lose your house. You won't lose your vehicles. You won't lose all your jewellery because you have to go and hock it to cover costs because they're not paying you properly. Well, it is now 10 years later after our court case where they made those excuses and said it would never happen again. I've spent the last 6 years being tortured. I've been starved and treated like shit. This is because everything's not holding where it's supposed to. Why? Because I'm not getting my diet. I'm not getting my vitamins that I need or anything else because they're not paying me correctly. They just continue to cheat me. I'm living in the car, which is where I am at the moment. while I'm making this video, out front of a library, because the library is the only place I can get it so I can do the upload, because it doesn't cost me anything. I can't even put fucking prepaid payment onto my cell phone, which my one is now gone for me trying to retop it up, because it's over a year since I last topped it up. Why is it over a year? Because Winds are not paying my money correctly. I got to the point now where it's basically, okay, fine, I've had enough of this. Again, why I filed the declaration of war. Now, it's not a joke. It's actually done what it stated to do a declaration of war, which is you basically write it up, you notify the person that you have the grievance with, you give them their terms of surrender, and you explain the terms. I've done that, you've seen that, and I've given them 60 days to fix everything in. 60 days is going to be coming up real fast because we're at day 22 already, and you notice it's dark, so basically tomorrow makes day 23. And I've allowed for the time period of February through to March and through to April as well. So, again, this is an update on the declaration of war, and as I've said, they've not done jack shit.